Hey guys, welcome to your weekly mental health education session. So, for us to understand how to achieve peak state or optimal human development, or for us to even just change behavior, we need to understand, first of all, how our brain, the mind, and the nervous system works, and how these are three of the main things that determine if we're happy, determine what we focus on, determine our behaviors. So, they are integral in human behavior and they're integral in the functioning of the human being. So let's start with the brain. So the brain is a complex set of neurons, and our neurons are connected by neural pathways. So these pathways are actually, not to get too technical, but there are little proteins called dendrites that develop when we think. So every time we absorb or integrate information or think a thought, a little dendrite grows. So depending on the type of experiences we have, we get two types of dendrites. When we have a trauma, the brain creates a specific type of dendrite. It's like almost an unhealthy protein. And then if we have a positive experience, we create a different type of neural pathway called dendrite. And mental rehearsal. So if we think something over and over again, it kind of thickens those neural pathways and they become the way that the brain filters information. So those neural pathways over time become thicker and thicker because we tend to think the same things over and over again. 80% of our thoughts, believe it or not, as human beings, we thought yesterday, we will think again today. So it is very much, we are creatures of habit. And the reason for that is the brain likes predictable. So the primary function of the brain is not to keep us happy, but it's actually just to keep us safe. It's to make sure that we as human beings survive and we procreate. So it's made to ensure that the species actually survives. So as a result of that, the brain is constantly looking for threat and it likes predictable. It's also the reason why it's very difficult to change behavior, because the brain gets used to a certain set of programs that we've run and that have been programmed into us since we were conscious, which is from the age of about 1. We start to absorb information about who we are as a human being, why we're here, what does it mean to be loved, what does it mean to be successful. All of those stories or belief systems which ultimately create our identity are formed within the first 1 to 7 years of our lives. The cool part is that the brain has something called neuroplasticity. So when we want to change behavior, or when we want to change a different belief or change a belief system about ourselves, we can, thankfully, create new ones. It just takes a little bit of mental rehearsal, and eventually over time, our redundant or the neural pathways that we no longer use, which may be linked to a belief system that we no longer have about ourselves, or a change in values, eventually those neural pathways will break down. The brain does something called neurocycling every 21 days. It's almost like a rinse wash in your washing machine, and it rinses your brain and it gets rid of any neural pathways that are no longer serving you or no longer working. It takes 3 of those cycles for us to change a behavior. So let's talk a little bit about the mind. So the brain is like, if you were to imagine, I don't know, a lot of us when we were kids, we played with iron filings. If you imagine a piece of paper with some iron filings on top and you put the magnets underneath, pretty soon the magnet creates these patterns in the iron filings. So the magnet, I want you to imagine, is the brain filled with your unique neural pathways, and those unique neural pathways determine the patterns, or in other words, our field and how we function and how we behave and our emotional state. So I want you to think about your neural pathways as like building a road. When you start on a field with grass, there's no pathway. But if you walk a specific path or you drive on a specific path over and over, eventually you start to see the road. And the longer or the more we drive on those roads, the more reinforced those roads become. So the neural pathways that we create become more and more They become thicker and thicker over time. And then what the brain does is, because it's an energy efficient processing machine, it likes the path of least resistance. So it will filter information, it will filter our external world based on our most reinforced neural patterns, or in other words, our programming. So let's talk a little bit about why the brain and the mind are so important when it comes to changing behavior. So if you think about an outcome, something in your life that you want to change, what it requires us to do is that we have to develop new neural pathways, because for us to change behavior, we need to start noticing different information. But what we notice, or things that we assimilate into our senses, is very much impacted by the neural pathways that are very well established, or in other words, our reoccurring thinking, as well as the narrative or the programming that we've had instilled in us from a very young age. So for me to change behavior, I need to first start with the story that I tell myself about a specific outcome. So for example, if it's a weight loss goal, like you guys are all on this Biggest Loser challenge, you need to understand, for us to stick to a behavior, or for us to change behavior, we need to change the story that we tell ourselves about a specific outcome. And if my story is, doesn't matter how hard I exercise, I'm never going to lose weight, or I have to starve myself to lose weight, then my brain is going to kick in and it's going to say, okay, I don't like this, because that means I'm going to be feeling pain. And as humans, we are wired towards pleasure and away from pain. So it's going to say to me, and it's going to give me all the reasons in the book why I can't participate in the challenge. I'm not going to be successful anyway, so I've decided already that I'm not able to do this, and therefore I'm not going to be successful, and as a result I'm not going to change my behavior so that I get a different outcome. So for this week's exercise, I'd like you to pick an area in your life, and I want you to understand the identity, what it is, what are those belief systems that you have about yourself in a specific scenario. And then I want you to write it down. Take 3 minutes, set a timer, and write down, I am. And whatever, just let the consciousness flow, let the stream of information come out, and then look at your desired state, what it is that you want to be, what kind of identity do you want to have within that space. And then again, 3 minutes, I am. Let's look at the difference, what it is I am, or how I think I believe, or what I believe I am in a specific space, or in a sphere in my life, or in an outcome that I want to change. And then I look at what I feel I need to be, what identity do I need to have for me to be able to achieve that outcome. In other words, what do I need to believe, or what do I need to change in my belief systems to achieve the different outcome?